if you have any questions, please indicate from the comments box or raise your hand. I would like to call on Niyi Obembe to share briefly your thoughts and ask any of the panelists a question. Thanks, Niyi. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks for everyone who has spoken. I hope I am audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent, thank you. I have a few observations generally. So I know we are talking about good governance, corporate governance, and we went from the business world into the government sphere.
Yeah.
Now, it is fine
that Ogbu was in the cabinet office.
I would.
Ogbu, your cousin who was in the cabinet office.
No, I wasn't in the cabinet office.
Professor,
yeah. Remember
Professor
when Obasanjo and all came here? They said they wanted to do something. When they were trying to tell them, Obasanjo said they wanted to look at something else. I can't remember what it was.
Let's mute the colleague, please.
I think you can mute them if you are there.
Yeah, I think they called me. Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So I will start with the last speaker, Philip. He made some interesting observations about the UK, about the structure of the civil service, and so on and so forth. It's important whilst we do this discussion and analysis of where we are in Nigeria, we need to understand that there was a time in Nigeria that we actually had effective governance. So the question really for me is, are we as citizens really ready to have again what used to work in Nigeria? So that's the first question that I think we need to answer as a people. It's not only about the comparison of what England does today or what is going on in America or in Germany. Definitely there are good things going on in Nigeria. There is a big room for improvement, there's no doubt. Now, also, in terms of the opportunities, I think it was Francis who talked around these core principles of corporate governance. We need to also try to think about, let's make the best practice or leading practices which we have in the UK or other places. We need to consider how can we make those localized to our own scenarios in Nigeria. You know, what I would take away from Francis' sharing of that corporate policy is the need for audit processes. Because in Nigeria, it's not like we don't have a lot of good ideas or a lot of good ideals. The problem is we do not have a decent incentive to stop people from stealing or to stop people from being accurately monitored and reported. So the area of audit is a big one as far as I'm concerned. So those are the observations I make. It's been extremely good, and I'm also happy to say that we should, as a group, also try to look at investment opportunities. For example, the LAPO discussion that was made, some of us who live outside of Nigeria continue to invest on the stock market in England and in other places. We also need to put money back in Nigeria. So those would be my observations, and thank you very much for inviting me into these sessions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Niyi. I'd like to call on Ike Akpitanyi from Canada, the CEO of Canadian Imperial College. Oh, Popola Akonde. Not Akpitanyi. Can Popola Akonde please unmute and ask your question, please? Is Popola there?
I think
Yes.
Popola just joined, so I don't know if he has indicated that he has a question. So it was a bit late for the session.
Okay. Can let the panelists speak on, and then we'll wait when Popola is available. Francis, do you want to please 1 minute each because of the time? I'm conscious of.
Can I just
of
reply
the time.
to? Yeah, can I reply to the gentleman who made that last statement? As the son of Nigeria's first permanent secretary of External Affairs and head of the civil service, I couldn't agree with you anymore. It's not as though Nigeria never had a civil service, effective civil service. It had one of the best civil services in the world at its time. It was left. First administration worked perfectly well, and the second administration worked adequately well as well. So we had excellent civil servants, permsec, such as the likes of F.C. Walker, the likes of Timenelli. I mean, they were exceedingly first class.
The likes of my parents too.
And your parents as well. But so we shouldn't sort of just forget the sort of thing that the current civil service and the caliber of what we see is where we should judge Nigeria as. No, not at all. It needs improvement. And what the gentleman said is absolutely correct. It's absolutely spot on. But moving on from that, so is what he said about critiquing what I had said. He's absolutely correct in this. It's all very well about saying here, wonderful principles here in England, sitting down here. But we've got to localize it, and we've got to contextualize it, and we've got to make it relevant to within the Nigerian context. As he said, it's not as though we were not intelligent. We're bright. We're very, very bright. And it's just simply we have to make it more relevant to what how we do and govern ourselves within the Nigerian context, given the challenges which we faced recently. So I just want to support that gentleman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Dr. Igiamo, so do you want to say something? You are muted.
Well, I want to agree with the last speaker. Nigeria has, first of all, we had over the years, very excellent civil service with all the features that any civil service can have anywhere in the world. But we therefore also knew when we started our problems, So that obviously is there, except we go back to that point and begin to really speak true to ourselves that here we got is wrong and we need to address that. The second thing is about the fact that we do not have sanction. I strongly believe that in any society, people have the tendency to actually go against the law, especially when it is to their own benefit. But the right thing that will ensure that people don't do that often is the fact that you have sanctions. As we have today, we do not have sanctions for bad behavior in Nigeria.
Thank you. No sanctions for bad behavior, which fuels more bad behavior. I would like to call on Ben Obebo to say something. Ben. Dr. Philip Oromesi is sharing his slide again. Do you want to say something?
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Benjamin, yeah. Go on.
Okay, so you guys are talking about there are no sanctions. I think there are sanctions. I think the problem is we don't act on time. We tend to leave things until after the person has resigned from office. And at that time, the person has acquired a lot of money through graft, and they are able to delay the justice system. If we can catch the problem and address it immediately, I think, people would be more careful about how they commit graft in Nigeria. We tend to give immunity. Whoever wrote our constitution in 1999, I heard El-Rufai was one of the architects of the 1999 Constitution, starting on the Third or Fourth Republic. Immunity clauses has created a situation which has led to a very egregious, very egregious situation in Nigeria where you have governors actually perpetrating graft for 8 years. And these guys become too powerful when they get out of office that they will frustrate the legal system, and they get out scot-free or just delayed forever. As we know in Nigeria, you know, some cases can take 30 years or a lifetime, and then the person dies. You know, so I just feel like we should address things immediately. When graft is caught, we prosecute immediately, irrespective of your immunity clauses. I think that should be done. Even then, immunity clauses are reserved for the governors and some senators, I think, and the presidency. But in the civil service, you know, we need to improve on doing things immediately once the graft is discovered. You know, justice system takes too long.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Benjamin. Dr. Orumense, do you want to come and say something here?
No, thank you. I think there was a question from one of the participants earlier on about audits in corporate governance. I thought I'll share this slide because this is the guiding principle within the UK civil service in terms of the 4 lines of defense. This ensures the integrity of all of our decision making. The first line of defense, meaning the operational risk management, are identified and is immediately mitigated and managed by the people who are within that first line before any escalations are made. And then there's the second line of defense in terms of special risk management, controlling, and compliance functions. Every government department, every company, every corporate governance entity have a risk and audit function that exercise that judgment to ensure compliance, to set out principles and policies. And then there's a third line of defense, which comprises the internal audits, you know, that act independently to ensure that there's compliance to governance requirements. So you would have heard within the UK, you know, that we have the select committee hearings, we have the various groups set up, you know, by the National Audit Office to review and ensure that the disbursement of public expenditure is held accountable by those entrusted within it. And then there's finally external auditors, the KPMGs, the EY, the, you know, you name them. They're there, again, to hold accountability to good judgment. And I think these principles, regardless of the types of civil service that we have, will ensure that there's good governance in everything that we do, both in public and in private life. So I take the conversations held earlier on that Nigeria traditionally had a very good civil service. That's absolutely fine. But the independence of the civil service is called to question when the politicians can manipulate the decisions made by the civil service. No minister, no secretary of state can prevail on me to change my decision. All I simply have to do is ask them to give me an instruction, and they will never do it, right? So there are some lessons that we can bring to bear, not to copy from the UK, but to look at what works for them in terms of the application of some of these rules. That will help. And then lastly, to just mention again, in response to the question that gentleman made, is Nigeria ready for the UK type of civil service? We have it. It's just ensuring the independence of the civil service and ensuring these accountabilities, these 4 lines of defense is applied, you know, to the letter. I think that will get us to where we need to be.
Thank you, Dr. Orumense. I'm going to call on 3 people. The first will be Johnny Akpitayi, second will be Professor Ebon, and the third will be Sam. Johnny Akpitayi.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Thanks, everybody. I think my observation is this, we've all spoken well, and personally, I ponder on this sometimes when I'm on my own. I'm wondering, if you talk of institution, I think that is really the place that we need to concentrate on as a people and as a country. The reason I'm saying that, somebody mentioned the SAP. I recall vividly that was an initiative from, was it Falai? So, and when he brought that initiative to Babangida, it was to experiment it for 5 years to ensure that we balance our economy. But when Babangida saw what was coming out from it, they allowed it to stay. And then it crumpled our economy. So that is another governance that, if not well implemented, can cause a chaos, because the people implementing it does not even have full understanding. So then the second one is our civil service. So I still think we have enough brains in Nigeria to say our civil service or what we do. Everything is actually working. The structure is there, but the implementations are not there. And secondly, we're trying to compare ourselves with Western world. My own observation is the kind of structure that they built, because I live in Canada today, I work with the government. So the kind of structure that these people build is just a case of who is monitoring the police. That's a layman example that I can use. So to them, the police is the one monitoring the ordinary man, but who is now monitoring the police? So they have a way of monitoring the police, but do we have a way of monitoring the police? No. So that is really the institution. And somebody once said that it is very corrupt for you not to be corrupt in a corrupt economy. And they're giving an example of a Nigeria economy. So how do you really succeed without being corrupt when the economy itself is corrupt? So we now begin to look at institutions, and people like you and I should begin to come up with the kind of policies and structure that we think can work in order to curb this menace or help strengthen the Nigeria institution. That's why I still applaud people like, what was it called, Soludo. You saw when he raised per capita base from 2 billion to 100 billion. Even in the National Assembly, those are lawmakers, they were all complaining. I watched it, right? So they were all thinking, oh, this is going to result in job loss and so many other things. But the banking institution has been strengthened by that simple initiative, and that can attract foreign investors. I think those are the kind of institutions that we should be looking at to build around our civil service and our governance as well. Thank you. That's just my observation.
Thank you, Mr. Akbitai. So institutions, improving our institution. Can I just quickly call on Sam? Sam, 1 minute, please, before Professor Ebo. Unmute yourself. Your 1 minute starts now.
From the bottom of my heart, I just wanted to thank the organizers for continually championing a positive story of not only Nigeria, Africa. I've listened to what all the key speakers spoke about today, and I am extremely impressed. Philip, I like your thoughts. I like your view about what is going on the ground. Philip, is there any way that all of us can work together in partnership whereby we could be able to own the positive stories that are coming out from Nigeria or across Africa? Taking a very strong view on capacity building, whereby based on what they do in China, whereby we could bring some of these political leaders to come and emulate what the UK government is doing. We cannot be saying Nigeria next month will be 60 years, and we cannot be saying the same thing over and over and over. The leaders, I can tell you, they are taking a mickey on their people, and it's time that we stop all this nonsense. So what I'm saying is, what could be a best way to look at the positive story, only together in partnership, but to find a way to add value into making Nigeria a better place, a better country, not only for the elite, but for all the citizens of that country. Thank you.
Can I come back on that, please, very quickly?
1 minute,
very
please.
quickly. Now, Professor Bohan was there in London during the send-off party for Air Vice Marshal Ogome, and I gave a speech on leadership, and the Nigerian High Commissioner was there. And he said to me, I'm really keen to engage with you to see what we can do to develop and improve democratic institutions in Nigeria. We've not spoken since that day. He gave me his card and I gave him his card. He hasn't taken on that opportunity. So Samuel, to address your question, what can we do to make a difference? Very little, especially those of us in diaspora. I think the solution rests in Nigeria. There's no desire, there's no willingness to change the way things are. Change has to come from within. The people who live and breathe the issues have to come up with the solutions to it. Whatever we do here, you cannot transpose what works well in Canada, the UK, to Nigeria. It will not work.
My suggestion would be, let us start small. We can start from one state and be able to lay a foundation, show a good example, then we can quickly champion into other states.
I'm noted. We'll come back to that. Can I just quickly call on Professor Ebohon, please, your observation? And then Michelle, and then the panel of speakers will then speak.
Thank you very much, Philip. Some of the things that I was going to say, Philip is taking it out of my mouth. It's more or less observation that I'm going to make. First of all, the elaborate and excellent speech given by Philip is not necessarily meant to say we must do everything we do here in the UK or do it in Nigeria. Philip is just said the basic measures that are put in place. My response to that, to tell you how difficult the issues that we are discussing with here, it's not just a question of Nigeria, Britain, man or woman. It's a very, very difficult problem. I just left a meeting with the British government, a government of sciences, where we are looking at some of these policies. The corruption in the UK is still very high. We're not saying that there's no corruption in the UK. Corruption in the UK is extremely high. If I give you just 2 or 3 instances, the British Library was supposed to cost 350 million. I think it ended up costing about 475 million. The Scottish Parliament was meant to cost 250 million. It cost 700 million in the end. The European Parliament again moved from 450 million euro to 900 million euro. But they don't call it corruption. They call it one beautiful name, I've forgotten now. It's not even variation, okay? Now, this is my problem. What goes on in Nigeria is not corruption. It goes beyond corruption. Now, when you say corruption, people treat this thing with gloves hands. Now, what goes on here, within that, we saw a building, we saw a library, we saw all these facilities here. And coming back to the other point, all these things people talk about institutions, you go to Nigeria, there are more institutions running than institutions. If you just take education, for example, when I went to Abuja, I couldn't imagine the premises taken by technical education, midwifery education, this education. They dissected the whole education landscape into, and they have elaborate infrastructure and headquarters. What comes out of that? That is the question. In terms of laws and regulations, go and check. I've never seen, for example, my area, environmental law. I've never seen a country with a much more developed, robust environmental law on paper, but it is not implemented. All of us sitting here now, there's a good example that I can use. It's okay, even among us, with all due respect to all of us, how many of us really want change? You know why I'm saying this? We've seen what is happening now in my little Edo state. Would you believe it? That there are some of us here who have been here that I have moved up and down the country, deliver seminars on good governance, on anti-corruption and everything. Because of the personal gain they believe they will have. If you see what they are writing, the side that they are going into, it will want to shock you. And finally, not to even waste our time. Philip, I'm warning you, and with everybody else. Anywhere you mention Nigeria now, people jump. In my university, through some of these people, I've just joined this university now. I'm the head of internationalization, and recruitment and marketing. So we're trying to facilitate MOU between Nigerian universities here and UK universities. When I raised it, the vice chancellor in charge says, okay, thank you very much. Come to my office. He gave me 7 MOU. Immediately, the vice chancellors come in here with their team. Their wives go out shopping and they return. You don't hear anything from them again. Nothing. And I'll give you another one close home. The only university that we are dealing with is Federal University of Agriculture, Akure. Just one last example. Another Nigerian here who is a world-renowned dentist was asked that they want to set up an implant, a dental implant center, that they want to move it around. He begged them in my presence. They said, okay, they will let him take it to University of Benin because he did his dentistry at University of Benin. They were ready to provide all the infrastructure and everything. So the head of whatever division there was flown in, he was briefed and all the meeting took place. When he went back to look at how we are going to start the program, he said to him, he said, look, Gabriel, don't you think it's best to locate, that infrastructure in the UK so that we can come and be visiting the UK rather than putting it here in Nigeria? He nearly fainted. You know what then happened? We move up and down, we couldn't do it. As I'm telling you now, the dental implant school is in Egypt. Yeah. As we are talking. Wow. So when we are talking about governance and all these things, please, we mustn't see it as government and ourselves. We are the government. We are the Nigerians that we are talking about.
Yes.
How many of us here have left? I can give you 4 or 5 or 10. Even some of those people we sponsored here, among the little group of Nigerian associations that we have here, to go and represent us in government. Their history is even worse than those people there. So when we are talking, we shouldn't be talking like them versus us. It is us that are here. And that's why I believe that everything we are talking about now start, with a micro approach. Let somebody look at you. Someone comes to me and say, I want to preach the Bible to you, convert you. I said, no. Let me look at how you live your life. And come to you and say, you are so, I want to be like you. Rather than you coming to talk to me in this form. So even those of us just listening here, we can change Nigeria. We can change Nigeria by just doing what? Looking at how we do our things. People, we convert people. Now, the organizers of this program, that's what they are doing here. So there are other people that can organize this among those of us listening in different ways. And finally, when I went to South Africa, we had about so many delegations from Nigeria on construction industry development. After they finished, I held everybody together. I asked those people who came from Nigeria, I said, who do you think organized this event? I said, did you hear the name management here? Government here? No. The Building Federation Association of South Africa. Just builders organized this marvelous program. Wow. Everybody believes that it's only government that can change things. So that's why I'm very grateful for the organizers of this program, the series, the people they are bringing out. Who even think we have someone like Philip or our brother that have spoken? But they would never. The people that are invited from here to come and rule in government, how do they get in touch with them? I can give you 1 or 2 examples very quickly without mentioning names. They don't come to look for people here who can help them. They look for people they come in contact with, either driving them as cab drivers or taking them to restaurants to eat and wherever. And he says, I can help, come and work. That is it. He's giving us a favor. So that's just my observation. I'm very sorry if I took things out of context. Thank you.
Very, very pertinent observation, and which everyone has supported. Michelle, can you just quickly talk for 1 minute, your observation? Michelle.
Yeah, well, I think the last speaker or the last person has covered some of the issues I wanted to raise. But I think that the key one for me when we're talking about governance is really about the people who we have positioned into those places where decisions are made. So our boards, for instance, we've got lots of government agencies where you've got people who have been appointed. That most of those people don't have a clue as to what their role is. And so when you have people who want to come to Nigeria and do business or even deliver projects, you know, that they're funding themselves. You come across obstacles because the people who are there really shouldn't be there. And I don't know how we can change that, because obviously it's all about leadership. You know, whoever's on the board will make the decisions. And, you know, if you can't get through to those people lack knowledge, lack wisdom, how do we move forward? You know, clearly we've got, Nigeria is a very blessed nation with regards to its people and capacity. We've got, you know, people like Philip. I admire you, Philip, because for you to have been 17 years in the civil service, I know that that's strong going. And especially, you know, in the 90s, we know how it was being a Nigerian in the UK, working within a certain environment. There was this perception. So for somebody to have lasted for that length of time and, you know, climbed up the career ladder and achieved a lot, I think that says that's a real testament to who you are. And I think we have many people like that. I worked in the civil service as well, or in the public sector, and I know loads of people that I'm really proud of. And you think that these are the people that we want to see in positions in Nigeria, being able to make the change that we want to see. But we don't have that. So how you know, just this is to the panelists, how can we overcome that as an issue? Because I think until we get the right people in the right positions, all this talk that we're saying about governance and all of that, it's not really going to work. That's my comment.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for your observation. What we will now do, we are going to do closing. There will be 5 speakers now. To start with Darlington Omori, followed by Francis Nwokede, then Dr. Igiamuso, Philip, and then closing by KDI here. Please, can we just do that? Darlington.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure listening to all the views and comments made. But I just want to close with this. There have been some issues that I think is very clear, and that is issue of research. Research is very, very poor when it comes to Nigeria, comes to Africa, comes to way things are done. We do not observe, we do not think, we do not really spend time really trying to find out what the key issues are. You might see a problem on the surface, but going down to find out what the cause of that problem is very important. We talk about manpower. I don't know if anyone realizes that the Civil War was a key factor in decimating the civil service, destroying all that was good about the civil service in the 60s and going towards the 70s. Then we also have to look at the issue of, like I said, the issue of decision making. How are these decisions made? When it is clear, when it is evident to everyone, this is how decisions are made, this is a decision process making plan, then it's a lot easier for those within those sectors, the governing to say, oh, this is what has happened, this is what is happening, I cannot do this. Unfortunately, a civil servant in Nigeria is asked by the minister to do this, and he says, give me a letter. I'm not doing it. You know, it becomes an issue, I'll sack you. If you know how you're going to be sacked, why you're going to be sacked, why you're going to be removed, if those processes are defined, then you can take anybody to court. And I'm pretty sure the court is not, things don't, for me, it's about understanding what the processes are. If you don't, you can't move forward. And then you talk about, for me, again, you need to institutionalize, like rightly said, institutionalize these processes. We can build institutions, we can build various frameworks. If we do not have a way of recording how these things are being made, how these things are being created or defined, then we end up having a situation, you build a house, you don't know if there's a road going to the house, you don't know if water will be there, why the house was built, you have no reason for why the house was built. So my take is we need to do a lot more research in the country. We need to do more research across the continent to figure out why we are behaving the way we behave, because expectations of the people is quite different from expectations of the leaders. It's quite misaligned. Probably they are the same, and that's why we're getting the kind of governance we have across the continent, whereby people want government to provide things that should not be provided, and government do not think that they should be responsible for the things that they should be providing. So there's a disconnect there. So I just believe that we need to carry out more research and try to institutionalize processes rather than institutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlington. So research, decision making, and need to institutionalize processes. Please, next speaker. Francis.
Well, I think we need to make a quick distinction between corporate governance and public civil service governance. I think that those are two distinct things. I rather focus on corporate governance because quite a lot of businesses and the way that I see Nigeria moving forward is through its SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. That's where people are going to make money and families are going to be fed, etc. So if we're going to spend our time in enabling those corporations to govern themselves in a sound way, then I think that is a productive exercise. As far as the larger picture is concerned, that of the civil service and the government itself, now that is a challenge, because I do take on board what Michelle says about having the right person in the right place, the right job. That comes through a whole variation of mixtures of education, going to the right institutions, having the right institutions in place in the first place to encourage them, the right talent to be put in there, and not having this sort of nepotistic thing which we seem to be ordained with. But it's a much more difficult challenge. That's a much more difficult challenge. And I think that it's probably best to focus more on the corporate, on some of the corporations first.
The lawyer speaking, Francis, need for us to enable growth in the SMEs, spend time enabling the corporate. Francis is all about, like pushing good governance in the corporate space. And also he's talked about need for education, particularly in the civil service and across government. And also to go away from nepotism. That is something that we need to work on as a country or as a continent, or even in anything we are doing. Thank you, Francis. Dr. Igiamuso.
Quickly, thank you for this quick one. I probably just tell a story. Even with a military governor in one of the northern states, in the 70s, he was about to go on Friday. He was prepared to go on a weekend, and a number of vehicles were lined up. And the head of service, who was also the secretary to the government, came up and called on the chief of protocol. I said, "What is happening? Why are these vehicles lined up?" The chief of protocol said, "Well, the military governor is about to go to his village, and so he will need this." And the head of service asked again, "Is that by the rule? Is he entitled to this number of vehicles?" And he said, "No, but he's possibly want to go with some friends." And they said, "Take those vehicles back." And those vehicles were taken away, and nothing happened to the head of service. But what do you have today in Nigeria is that even before the political leaders open their mouth to say anything, the civil servant will say yes when they have not even heard what the political leader has said. So, and therefore the reason for that is the whole issue of impunity. When you talked about the immunity clause and all that, but what it is today is that the political leaders any political leader would do whatever he wants, and there is no consequence. And unfortunately for this nation, the ordinary people have been so put deep into poverty and that they are unable to even own up their voice. And so the bottom line today is this, and I should know that it is even if you want to do things right, whether in business and outside, in business and in government, it is even more difficult for you to do things right in this nation now than to go through the crooked way. And so people always go to the easiest way, and people go, to bad behaviors, as I said. So how do we get out of this? I think this would be a continuous conversation, but I would want to prescribe that Whatever we can do, we must go back to those rules. In the civil service, those days, you have the financial instruction. You have what they call the general order. And whatever was to be done must be in line with those guidelines. Today, you do not even have a copy of financial instruction in government offices. Thank you.
Thank you. I like the story, and in terms of nothing happened to the head of service, unlike what is happening now. Politicians have they say in our space. There's the element of sycophancy and the issue of impunity. But what is right, and what is good is good. And I think what this conversation has told us is that there needs to be element of good leadership and good governance. Thank you, Dr. Igiamusa. Dr. Philip Orumese, sorry.
Thank you. It's Orumese. He's done me well. Thank you for the time and the opportunity to contribute to this conversation. I guess the reason I'm here is because of my networks of relationships. And I think that's what we need to build. We need to begin to create a high-powered network of relationships amongst people of the same broad mindset. And through that, create some traction that can help us begin to, in an impactful way, influence policymaking and policy decision in Nigeria. But more crucially, begin to seed, expert knowledge into some of the thinking that goes into the formulation of those policies. It's also crucially important that we remunerate the people who are tasked with the responsibilities of making those decisions for us. That's crucially important for two reasons. Firstly, I cannot be influenced in my decision-making because I am paid well, I am remunerated well, and therefore I feel content and able to apply my knowledge. I'm beginning to see signs of that being exported back to Nigeria. In recent weeks, a good friend of mine, someone that I've worked with closely here in the UK, in Citibank, have been appointed as the CEO of Citibank Nigeria, from here. And that's somebody born from Benin, grew up in Benin, went to Idia College in Benin, held up, one of the biggest financial institutions in Nigeria. That's what we need to begin to propagate to ensure that we have the right people with the right mindset, with the right training, the right qualification and expertise, holding public offices in Nigeria. What I hate most are people who were who came to pour acids on people when they were at the university, holding political offices, holding ministerial offices in Nigeria. And I'm talking from real examples. When I was in Nigeria, when I was in Benin, somebody became a commissioner for education in Benin, someone who was expelled from the University of Benin because of their nefarious activities. We're never going to grow as a country if we pander to those people. The UK civil service excelled because of the excellence in attracting the very best and paying them very well. Unless we begin to do that in Nigeria, we're never going to succeed.
Thank you, Dr. Rumense. Your network is very important, according to Dr. Philip, and also remuneration and creating traction to be able to influence policy making and decisions. And then Dr. Philip is saying that he's heartened by the fact that some of the things that we're learning in the UK, or the good practices in the UK, is being exported into Nigeria. And he gave an example of the CEO of, the newly appointed CEO of Citibank. And he's saying that we need to have the right people in the right place with the right mindset and the right training and experience. If we do that, things will get better. And I just want to add here also that although Dr. Egiamoso has said that things are a bit difficult when you are making the right decisions and doing the right thing, he's obviously doing the right thing and LAPO group is growing from strength to strength. So
Thank
I
you
would
so
not like to call on. I would not like to call on KDI here to give the present.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a very worthwhile discussion. So many things have come up. We've had frank, honest discussions amongst ourselves. My view is that everything that has been said has a positive point to be used in not just Nigeria, because we do have people who are not Nigerians who listen in. It's a global thing for us as a body to begin to discuss. And so I will have to thank all the speakers. I don't want to, and the moderator for the job well done. My view, and I continue to do this, is that as part of nation building, we get together the best of the best. And that's what we always assemble every month. As a matter of fact, we are going to be discussing next month energy and infrastructure. And November, we have something lined up. So this is a series that will dovetail into helping the Nigerian government, our own view, and African governments, our own view, UK actually, but our own view is that we cannot leave everything to government. It will not work. So if we do have a collective mindset, as Dr. Rumes said, then we can pull together our various ideas, use it positively. A lot of people benefit from our platform. We do have a business platform. And at the end of the day, what is most important is actually taking what we've discussed here and applying it physically and practically. And so as a business, not just media, we tend to have contacts with decision makers, policy makers, and on a practical note, even from people who are just not in government. Their action speaks very well for many people to benefit from. So if we are looking at somebody like Dr. Egiamuso, who's a private sector-led person, he has led the way really for how governance should be. And so for me, it's been a very fruitful discussion. We will compile everything that we have discussed and share with those who came on board and take it forward. What we normally do is it takes a little bit of time. We will put all the things together, then break them down to different sessions and each speaker, and then we share. And then we have a feedback mechanism. So please, I'm happy that a lot of people use the chat to discuss and ask questions. And like I say, we've never been engaged in a talk show. We've done this for 10 years. And the benefit of what we're doing now is that COVID has forced us in a way to do 4 events that we normally do one yearly. So we've done 4 quality events, 4 speakers each. Every speaker here, we cannot thank enough. They've done very well. And so thank you very much for everything that has happened today. It's been a long day, and I can only just hand over to the moderator to quickly end it, but I just had to personally thank everyone. And if you don't mind, you can drop your emails and everything, and we'll get in touch with you. So thank you, and hold on for the moderator. You.
Thank you, KD, and thank you, everyone, speakers, attendees. Thank you for your very engaging presence here and for your interaction. Like KD has said, we will keep the conversation going. There are so many issues that we need to build on, and we are going to build on, and it will be with your help. So I would like to now say that thank you again. And I also like to thank our partner, CODOB, who have kindly used their platform for us to make this happen, and other people who have other companies who have also supported us. We will keep the conversation going. We will share the recordings today and also the discussions that we've had. And thank you very much for the observations that you have made, everyone who did so today. I would like to wish you all a very enjoyable weekend and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.